When you're a victim of infidelity, it's one of the most soul-crushing, just terrible experiences you can have. And I think going through it and reflecting, why me? Why would the person I love most do this? Are just very common questions that the person left ask themselves after the event. And whether they try to, work on the relationship and make it work and salvage it and learn from it, or just go on and split and say never again and go on with their life carrying that wound, I think it's important to understand this is a universal question. And they're universal questions because the pain is so intense and you cannot believe that someone you loved as much as you did, someone you depended on as much as you did, would actually do something so hurtful. But they do. It's a choice. And a study in 2014 in the International Journal of Humanities and Social Sciences said that sometimes for some people, understanding what prompted it or what was the reason behind it can actually help you heal from it. And along with this study, they did a study where they just basically sent out surveys to people asking them about their cheating experience and why they did it. And as much as you can trust anonymously the answers, it gives you insight into the thoughts that someone who has the characteristic, what I call flaw, of choosing that option of betraying their partner, why they do it. So for the purpose of helping you heal, if you're on the receiving end of hearing that your partner cheated, I want to go through the 6 reasons that these people cited them. And now remember, this is both men and women cheaters. It just isn't men. We know women cheat as much as men do. And so I think getting this perspective where it includes both genders is extremely important. The first one is defeasibility. Some of the participants in the study said that because alcohol was involved in their choices, or maybe they were using some other drug. The study specifically said alcohol, that they weren't thinking clearly. So therefore, any choice they made should be forgiven. It shouldn't be given the impact it was. Now, they also said they basically made this significant point. This was for like a one-time cheater or someone who goes away on work business and has a fling. It's not for these people that continually cheat, because if you continually have an affair with the same person, or even if you're a serial dater, there has to come a time for this person where they would say, okay, I better stop drinking. I'm going to ruin my marriage, or whatever the illicit drug is that, led to them not being able to think clearly. The second one is biological explanations. Yes, people still use that. We're wired to cheat. We're not monogamous. How crazy can you be? Biologically, we're wired for a lot of things that we socially learn are wrong. So when that excuse is even given, it shows you a certain amount of development of an emotional immaturity, a personal irresponsibility, an inability to get to a higher level of thinking, of being empathic. And although that sounds insane, when you're growing up and maybe you're 15 or 16 or 17, you could even forgive that. But when someone is a mature adult after the age of 24, it's really hard to start forgiving that or thinking, who are you? How could somebody your age be so emotionally immature? The next one is scapegoating. They'll blame their partner, they'll blame their spouse. Well, you weren't interested in sex anymore, or you weren't kind to me, or you had distracted from the marriage, whatever. When you scapegoat, basically what you're doing is you're saying, I am not mature enough to accept responsibility, therefore I'm going to push it on you. And it also says something about mental illness. Maybe this person is prone to narcissism thoughts. They may not be diagnosed with that yet, but they certainly have the underlying egotistic idea that they deserve, they're privileged and they deserve something, and because you weren't giving it, I will do what I want to. Most of all, scapegoaters are very selfish and they're very egocentric, as I said earlier. A denial of injury, this justification of it didn't really hurt anyone, shows you their lack of awareness of not only their spouse, but the fact that it led another person on. We don't know what the affair person thought or the person you cheated with thought, and it will affect your kids, because once cheating happens in a family, even if it's never talked about, one of those kids can feel it, the environment makes it more likely, and they will grow up to follow in your footsteps. We do know that. Denial of victim. They're just basically saying, nobody was victimized here. It was, nothing was wrong. I made a choice and it wasn't a big deal. They basically are trying to say that because you're married to me, you shouldn't feel bad about this. It's just one of those things that happen. And they have a very hard time taking responsibility for what they do. They really do not like that. They get angry if you talk about it, how this choice hurt others. It's very complicated for them to do anything outside of keeping the focus. This is what happened, and it really wasn't even a choice. I didn't think of it like that, and didn't hurt you, didn't involve you. And that's pretty much how they feel about it. The last one is they should get self-fulfillment. And in this part of the study, a lot of the people who cheated said, you know what, I don't see anything wrong with what I did. I have to sow my oats when I can, when I'm younger. If I wait till I'm older, I won't be able to. I'll regret it more. I'll have more complications. And therefore, this is what I had to do. And it's interesting because the denial of victim basically said nobody was hurt by this. That excuse was mostly done by women. Women who were having affairs basically said, I can still take care of the kids. Nobody has to know. I just needed this. The other one, deserving self-fulfillment, that was more men who claimed that one as an excuse of why they cheated. They felt like they could. They were very, pumped up. They felt good about themselves. They're going to take advantage of the gusto why they can. And that's what they decided to do with their time. All of cheating is a choice, but I do think it may be helpful if you can identify which of these your partner is, because with each of these, there's an implication that this person's emotional development may be very weak and needs strengthening. For sure, there's not one of these that doesn't need therapy of some kind. They're working through something. There's something they're angry about, something they're holding back, something they feel very incapable of, limited by. And I think getting at the bottom of that is going to do as much to help you restore your marriage, if you choose that, as just going through it and trying to learn to trust someone again when you have no idea which of these categories they're in. If this is helpful for you, please subscribe. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much.